Okay. Hey, good morning, everybody. Nikki Burnett here. Today's Taste Life Nutrition Radio and podcast streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. Today we have a super fun guest. We're talking about some things that are not always easy to talk about, but when we can get through it, it makes life amazing, right? So we're having Taylor Wessel on. She is holistic nutritionist, functional nutritionist, or both.
Holistic. Both, but holistic nutritionist is my title. Yeah.
Awesome. And we're going to talk about adrenal fatigue and fertility. And why is this amazing? Because somebody just had a baby, so she knows all about this stuff. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this is your second, yes?
Yes, I have 2 under 2. So my son is just 3 months and my daughter turns 2 next month. So talk about adrenal fatigue.
Yeah.
This whole new stage of adrenal fatigue in my life. So relevant in a whole new way.
Yes. It is. But it's so beautiful. I was actually, when I'm always preparing for the show, I'm, looking at the websites, and we've already had a conversation, but we're looking at the websites and the Facebook pages, and go to her Facebook page because it's so cute. You're that little, so little and so cute. I just can't stand it. So really cute pictures.
He's squishy. He's got the cheek. He got my cheeks, which everybody thinks is really fun. I've struggled with it for a long time, and now I have,
Yeah. Oh my goodness, you're beautiful. Yeah. So, well, congratulations. And as always, we start the show with gratitude because gratitude can change the world. I truly believe that. I was actually talking with my husband about this last night. And so I'll go into that in just a minute. But you first, what are you grateful for?
Yes, I mean, the most relevant is my babies. Yeah. They are healthy and happy and hitting the milestones, and I couldn't feel more blessed because of them. But my partner as well, my husband, if it weren't for him, we wouldn't have the babies. And then work from home is a third thing. I like to do 3 to 5 gratitude pieces. I got the, leggings on the bottom, on the top,
so
which
good.
I am so grateful for. And all through my pregnancy, it's how I made things work.
Yep.
So
I do the same thing. I'm in the studio, so I don't do it in the studio. I do actually have pants on, but when I'm in my home office, it's shorts, it's jammies, it's leggings. It's so good.
Yes, comfort first, right?
It's so true. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm, it is interesting because literally last night, my husband and I, and we do this a lot, which is not always good because we get to bed just late enough where it's getting too late. So it's like 10:30, and that's the time when my husband wants to talk.
Yes, I know.
And I love it, and I enjoy it, and I have to put out of my mind, I need to go to bed because I'm up at 4:30, right? Or 5, or whatever the day ends up being. But so I want to enjoy it and take it in. And I need to maybe think, we should go to bed maybe at 9:30. Then we have the time to talk in bed, do all of those things. But
that's a good small shift.
It would be a good shift. Yeah, I think so. It'd be a matter of getting him in because that's not his thing. He's still kind of that later night guy, but he's doing much better. But next Wednesday is our 20-year anniversary.
Oh my God!
I know.
Happy 20 years. That's incredible. In this day and age, it's like people don't stay married for all that long. So bravo, you guys. What are your tips?
Oh. The thing that always sticks with me is that when we first started dating, it was easy. We're older, late 20s, right? Pushing 30s. And there were no games. Literally no games. If you want to hang out, you hang out. If you don't want to hang out, you don't hang out. It was smooth. It was easy. It was mellow. And it was just easy. And so not that it's always easy, right? But there's always the motivation just to make it as easy as possible to move through the stuff that's not always so easy, because everybody has their junk, but we don't have a lot of junk, which is really great. And so ease and gratitude, right? Yeah. So I would say too, that leads me, kind of into, what I'm grateful for, because we were having this discussion last night and we were sort of reminiscing on the years and what it's been like and what we've done and surprises that we've had for each other. I wish it's kind of a fun conversation, but anyway, the point to all of it is he was talking about in his prayer time in the mornings that he's learning to start his, like, he's not writing or journaling, at least as far as I know. He might be, but he's learning to bring in gratitude first during his prayer time in the mornings. And I thought, that's really great. And he said, and it's so good because that's the time I sit and I think about how great we are and how blessed we are, even when there's sometimes some junk. And it was just this really cool conversation. Oh, and he was like, and it brings me to the present, right? Because he can, if things are wonky, like, with work or with finances or whatever the case may be, he really focuses on that. And so it was fun to hear him say, and I would hope that anybody maybe would take this to heart, when sometimes things make you anxious and you get a little bit out of control and your mind reels, because this is how he is. And it's okay, but he is finding his way to bring himself to the present and be grateful for where things are and what he has, knowing that God's got us, right? Anyway, so that's what I'm really grateful for. I'm grateful for the 20 years. I'm grateful for him and his growth, and me and my growth, and then our growth together. It's important that we grow individually and together. So anyway, that's my gratitude for today. So
I love that. I love that. And meeting later in life, it's like, I'm not trying to play the games. And I also know what I want, what I don't want, and what I won't put up with. And so it seems like we were both on the same page. So it is great to kind of do life before and have your fun and make some mistakes, and then be in this stage of you're still growing every year, every decade, but it's like we're not doing the sloppier growth of the 20s and late teens.
So true. It's so true. Yeah. All right, let's do this. Let's jump in and start having some fun, because it's going to be a really great conversation. I'm excited about it. I love the topic of fertility. I come at it from, I don't have children, and so my thing is the epigenetic component. I love talking to people about what you can do prior to trying to get pregnant, right? This is getting healthy before you're actually in that spot of trying. But what can happen, right, is you get to the point where you're starting to try to get pregnant, and life happens, and the world happens, and things happen, and histories of trauma happen, and so much can happen that you go, why am I not getting pregnant? What's going on? So I would love to hear your story about how you came to this point, and anything that you want to add to that, and then we'll jump into the nitty gritty and have some fun.
Okay, thank you. So I think my story, as it's relevant to this topic, goes back to 2010. So that's a while back, and at that point I had gone through a breakup. I was together with somebody for 5 years, and I had been on birth control pills for 8 to 10 years, and just in having conversations with girlfriends, started hearing about them going off birth control pills and feeling like a weight had been lifted, the cloud had been lifted. They didn't realize how good they could feel. Their mood shifted, some kind of depression stuff shifted. They were feeling better in their bodies, and I was like, what the heck? I'm not being sexually active right now, and this is a perfect time just to try it out. I feel pretty good, but what if I could feel better? So I did, and just to fast forward through this story a bit, I didn't get a cycle. My menstrual cycle was gone for 3 years after going off birth control pills. Yes.
They're
And
so
I was
dangerous.
already, I know. I was already health minded. I grew up with a mother who was about essential oils and natural therapies, and I had like the almond one meal cookies in my lunch satchel, and versus the
love
Oreos. So
Yeah.
I was programmed to first try the diet and lifestyle interventions. I was doing acupuncture, I was doing seed cycling, I was doing everything I knew at that time to try to bring things back online. And I just wasn't getting there. And my mom kept pushing, go see somebody, see what's going on. I did check my thyroid and I had hypothyroid. So I got the hypothyroid diagnosis, and against what I would have wanted to do, I went on thyroid medication because it's like sometimes you just need a little booster, and that's why medicine's there. And it wasn't working from the natural therapies. So went on thyroid medicine. I started with Armor. I've been on every thyroid medication out there in my 10 plus years on thyroid medication. I'm no longer on that, which I'll get to in a moment. Yes. And my cycles didn't start. So that wasn't the end all solution. So that was about 2012 at that point that I finally gave in to thyroid medication for hypothyroidism. I was in Colorado at the time. I actually went to CU Boulder and then lived in Denver so I was in Colorado living for 10 years there, but I'm from Chicago, based in Chicago now. Moved back to Chicago, worked with a new doctor, integrative doctor, and she said, you have adrenal fatigue. I had never heard of this before. And she said, you're stressed, you're burning the wick of the candle at both ends, and how do you expect your hormones to come back online, especially given your history with birth control pills, where it's like a free pass for your cascade to be like, we don't have to do anything. Like, we can just rely on this pill to give us estrogen when we need and progesterone when we need.
Yeah.
So at that point, I started speaking to my adrenals. I was also on the thyroid medication, and my cycles came back so quickly. And I was also doing some lifestyle pieces, but I had already been doing that, detoxing and cleaning things up. And from that point on, I had regular, consistent cycles. And I didn't know whether I would be able to get pregnant. I never had a scare, and like for better or for worse, never had to deal with that. I wasn't ready to be pregnant or have a kid. I hadn't found the person that I wanted to do that with. But fast forward to meeting my partner actually later in life. I was 37-ish, and 36, 37. I'm now 40, so I'm no spring chicken having 2 young children, but we had our daughter in 2023, and then Abby, our son, just earlier this year. So, and I didn't have to actually go through the struggles of tracking my cycle and making sure that we're like in the bedroom at this point of the month at the peak sun hour or whatever the crazy.
Exactly.
So I'm grateful for that, but it's because I spoke to my thyroid, my adrenals, and I brought the whole cascade online, which is where I'm coming from, this place of I've personally gone through sort of, not the infertility struggles, but definitely the hormone adrenal struggles. And have been able to have successful pregnancies without trying, and seen this with my clients, many clients.
So I'm curious what you mean when you say speaking to your adrenals and your thyroid. Will you explain that to people? Oh no.
Oh my.
Don't you hate it when that happens? Perfect opportunity.
Right.
Take your time. Take your time.
Ideal moment. Went down the wrong pipe. Sorry, Nikki.
It's okay. No, it's okay. Don't stress. This is not a stressful place. Everything's fine. You are human. It happens.
Gosh, and you think about the thyroid, speaking up and using your voice box. It's like, what's in there?
What just happened?
Talk about this. I look at things from all sorts of different angles. Anyway, we're good. This feels cleared.
Okay, good.
So when I say speaking to the thyroid is your metabolism regulator. It's your internal thermostat. Speaking to the adrenals, your adrenals are two teeny tiny little glands that sit atop of each of your two kidneys on top of in your lower back quadrant. When you speak to both of those, like you're addressing them, you're supporting them, and I can talk about what exactly that looks like, then your hypothalamus, your pituitary, the whole hormonal cascade comes back online, and things feel safer for your body as far as reproduction, as far as having energy, as far as weight loss. I see so many clients, and even myself, in that hormonal struggle of never being like obese or overweight, but definitely the 10 to 15 pounds up that I wanted to lose, and I could never lose it, and I just felt bloated all the time. So all of these things start working themselves out when you speak to the hormones and support the hormones. The hormones are chemical messengers that interpret the outside and the internal world and send messages to the rest of the body on how to react. And they're not just estrogen and progesterone, as you well know, but
Sure, yeah.
not just estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, the sex hormones, but also insulin and ghrelin and leptin, and how we our hunger and satiation hormones, and how we store our body fat. So all of that comes back online when you support adrenal function. That supports the thyroid, and then comes higher up and gets all of this working again.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And it's this, I'm going to tell you too what's interesting. I've heard of adrenal fatigue for most of my, well, certainly most of my professional life. In school, I came to nutrition a little later in life, although I studied it my entire life. That's a lie. Since grad school, right? I went to grad school. I'm animals all the way, and then I'm like, I'm just going to totally change. So,
I love the pivot.
Yeah, big pivot. I'm still super science nerd, but the thing is though, I've even heard people say in the functional world that there's no such thing as adrenal fatigue.
Right.
What do you say to that?
Oh my gosh, I just got that a few weeks ago. I am in a networking group, and one of the people in my networking group is an integrative doctor, and I shared a little bit about my personal story. I think I was giving a 10-minute presentation to the group, and shared that I got the adrenal fatigue diagnosis, and he challenged me with that. What do you mean by the adrenal fatigue diagnosis? That's not a diagnosis. And it's not, and we don't learn anything about that in med school or in any of the books. So it's not potentially a diagnosis. Maybe that's the wrong term to say, but what I talk about is just that it is very real, and it is very present, and it is, I've seen it in practice, I've seen it with myself, and it is more recognized in this kind of Eastern approach and philosophy, more so than Western medicine and by the books with diagnoses. More of an understanding of what's going on in the body, how everything's interconnected, and with that, the glands speak to one another. So many people have their tonsils out or adenoids out as children because they constantly have sore throats or sinus infections, or their gallbladder, people later in the life, gallbladder removal, and we just are so quick to remove these things thinking there's no real purpose.
We don't need them.
Still function.
So ridiculous.
But everything serves a purpose in the body, and the adrenals get under-recognized, and stress gets under-talked about. But Dr. Mark Hyman, a while back, talked about how 80% of doctors' visits, the underlying cause is stress-related. So my weight issues, my high cholesterol, my high blood pressure, my insomnia, all of that could stem back to stress and its impact. And if we're talking about stress, we have to talk about the adrenals. I hope that answered the question. That was a little loopy-loopty.
Well, but that's what it is loopy-loopty, right? Because it is all interconnected. And I think that if we were to take it back just to, kind of simple. It's not simple necessarily, but simple biochemistry, right? If we're stressed, cortisol goes up. If we're chronically stressed, cortisol is chronically high, right? Which is going to push blood sugar, which is going to push stress, which is going to affect the thyroid, which is going to affect the hypothalamus, right? And the pituitary. So it's this thing where, people may say, no, it's not a thing, but we are in a place as a society where chronic fatigue, chronic stress is a huge issue. Why? We've got this massive toxic load. We've got, financial issues all over the place, and that's not new, but it still is a thing, right? The financial stuff, especially over the last 5 years, is just, well, no, probably 10 years. I don't know, but it's just gone wonky crazy, right? I mean, holy smokes. You're like, all right, how do we do this, right? How do we live this life with the money that I was making 10 years ago? Or, whatever. We hope we're making more. But the point to all of that is we're in this place where if we're overloaded and not partnering with our body to help it to manage, right, which is good food, likely good supplementation, being calm, grounding, getting out in the sun, all of these super foundational things, and all we're doing is going and going and going, and we're eating on the run, and we're on our Zoom calls, and we're driving in the car, and we're mad at the traffic, and it's just nonstop. So how does the adrenal gland constantly produce cortisol? It can't. It's going to go, all right, I'm out. I don't have any more to give. Right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think cortisol is one of those misunderstood hormones, and it like inflammation and cholesterol gets a bad rap 100% of the time. Yeah. Well, not 100%. There's some people that understand a little bit better, but cortisol, we do need cortisol. We need cortisol to be high first thing in the morning to get us up and get us going. And it should decrease from there and be lowest at the end point of the day when melatonin goes up so that it supports us in sleeping at night. And the problem is when our adrenals are overtaxed by all of the stresses that you mentioned, and I do want to add a couple other things to that. Cortisol is not coming to the table first thing in the morning. It's low, it's slow functioning, so we rely on caffeine to get our mojo going for the day, and that suppresses cortisol even further. And then it increases where it should be lower, and that keeps us awake at night, and it's like our cycles are wonky. So it's about the pattern of cortisol in the day. But there's also, I think, with the past 10 years and more, it's like females especially are coming into their power, and they're doing big things. They're making more money, and they're standing on their own, and they're more independent, like, with even in vitro, and we can have children without a male counterpart. So there's so much that we can do that we haven't been able to do in the past. And with that comes stress and pressure and constant go to kind of keep up with these things. And when we're constantly in the what's next, I got to keep moving, I'm doing big things, we're suppressing that kind of like parasympathetic rest, digest. We're constantly in this fight or flight, go, do, and we're not resting because that feels like lazy, having a rest day. And we learn that we have to kind of do this push. If we have weight struggles, for example, we need to cut calories more and exercise more. And it's like
more stress.
Yeah, and it's just more and more stress, and it's different for females than it is for males. The calorie counting and macro balancing and intermittent fasting game works really well for my male clients, and it doesn't for my females because they actually need to eat, and they need to eat at the right point in the day, and they need to wait a little bit on the coffee and not do the intermittent fast black coffee and go in the morning. So it's there's stress coming from so many, and then the pressures that we put on ourselves to look a certain way and to show up a certain way, and kind of the thoughts that are constantly going through our minds are creating stress too.
I think that's a really important point also, is having a true understanding, even if it's not at a deep level, but for women who are in a relationship with a man, right? We have to know that we're totally different. We can't do the same diets, right? We can't do the same type of fasting. We can't, our hormones, we're not built for this massive, these huge cortisol pushes and these and the just chronically elevated. Men are built so differently and so beautifully that they know how to manage, and they can, and that's how God created them. And I fully believe that we are equal in a lot of ways, but we're built differently. I don't know if that comes out right, but I'm grateful for men because I don't want to do what they do,
Yeah.
but they don't want to do what we do, right? I mean, that's why we're created as we are, and we're equals in ways, but we're not equals in ways. I'm certainly not as strong as my husband. I'm pretty strong, but he's definitely much stronger. That's how he's built. So anyway, point to all of that. I love that you're making this point about diet, which I hate diet, but how we diet, how we eat, how we exercise, when we eat, how we support ourselves, how we allow for better hormonal communication because they are the communicators, and how we can not dampen that, because that's what happens a lot when things like birth control pills and so forth. So I love that you're saying that. These are the words that and I know we're so well aligned on these things, but these are the words that I speak so often when I'm creating, protocols and reports and things for clients. It's like, you are a woman, treat yourself like a woman. Stop treating yourself like a man, because you're not, Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Yes. You keep spreading that message. More of us need to hear that and get the permission slip to take a rest day and to get to bed when we're actually tired. It's like things that we might know, but we're just not doing it. And it's actually really simple to get things back online. But it's like, wait a minute, it can't be that easy. Or I hired a nutritionist to tell me to drink more water. Like, no, duh. And yes, I should drink or eat a salad a day. It's like, actually, the simpler the better, because you're busy and you don't have time for this. So why don't we simplify this and just get some small action steps that actually get you the result? Like, could you just try to do some of these things?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the fertility piece as it relates to the adrenals and adrenal fatigue, and what you're doing to help your clients when they're struggling.
Yes. So this kind of comes back to, like, we have to think about our brain as being wired from the caveman era, like way back in the day when there wasn't Zoom calls or podcasts, and there wasn't work from home. There was no work. The work was find catch for the family and bring that back and build houses and do things around the land. But back in the day, it was the biggest stressor was there was somebody from a different tribe coming in, or a lion, tiger, bear, a predator coming in that threatened our home and our safety, and we had to flee, we had to run. And in the moment of needing to escape from a predator or have our tribe taken over, this nervous system flip had to happen from rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system activity, where we are reproducing, we're digesting, we're having good conversation, we're sleeping well, to, oh my God, I need to run from this lion, predator, whoever is coming after me. Sympathetic dominant, stress dominant, shut down digestion, shut down reproduction. I mean, in that moment, you don't want to have a bowel movement, right? So digestion has to stop, because if you're pooping, you have to take a minute, and then you're eating, you're gone. So the body has learned and was wired from that point of, when it is safe to have a bowel movement, digest my food, get nutrients to my 50 to 100 trillion cells, I'm in this cool, calm, and collected place. And when I'm fleeing from the lion, tiger, bear, which is no different than being stuck in a traffic jam, having work deadlines, having these pressures and perfectionist tendencies, our body still goes there, even if it's not as detrimental. Our body doesn't know the difference. And then digestion stops. I see so many people with constipation or loose stools, but more constipation in the hypothyroid space. And it's like, yeah, we have to speak to your stress. And nobody actually wants to speak about stress because it's like, I live a stressful life. Talk to me about something more sexy.
Yeah, you know? Right.
But it's also the body doesn't feel safe giving up weight. We hold on to weight as protection because, again, back to the caveman ancestors, food wasn't always available. Now there's a McDonald's on every corner or Starbucks. Like, you know, we all have stuff in our pantry, or for the most part, we have access to food whenever we want, 365, 24/7. But the body holds on to weight so that, God forbid, there was a famine, or the body wants to hold on to weight because that's safety. I have stores, reserves to pull from. So the body holds on to weight in sympathetic dominant mode. The body doesn't digest food in sympathetic dominant mode. So energy, like we're expecting to have energy. And then the reproductive piece, which is the original question, is when we're fleeing from a lion, tiger, bear and under a huge amount of stress, it's not safe to bring a baby into this world who wants quiet and nurturing and milk production. And the body's like, no way, I'm not doing that. And so we think about infertility and okay, I'm ready to get pregnant and I'm just expecting my body, I've been in stress for so long. Maybe I've had hormone imbalance show up in the way that my menstrual cycles haven't been online, or maybe not, but I've had other signs and symptoms presenting along the path. But then maybe I've had a hard time over a month or two once I decided I was going to get pregnant, getting pregnant, and then it's tracking cycles and getting to the bedroom at a certain time of day, at a certain time of the month, and so much pressure, it like takes out the connection piece with partner, and this becomes more pressure and more stress. And then maybe there's a cleanup with diet and detoxing, and it's like, that can be an added stressor, maybe a good stressor on the body if you're eating a lot of gluten and inflammatory foods for your system and you kind of clean that up. That can be good, but it can also potentially mean you're eating less calories because you're not eating as processed of food. So, and then you're potentially working out harder because you're trying to do something good for your system and you're actually working the opposite. So the adrenal piece is we have to support or we have to kind of do things to be more parasympathetic dominant every single day to shift us to a place where we're not safe to reproduce and have our hormones work properly and go through perimenopause and feel terrible for 10 years. That's another piece, but we're not talking about that today.
But it's true, right? We manage all of this stuff now. We have a much smoother transition at that time. So it's all related no matter what.
Yes. So we have to slow down. As women, we have to slow down. We can do big things. We can be successful. We can do everything that we want in this world, but we have to tap into the feminine. We have to support the slowdown. We have to make space for breathing and things that bring us into flow that aren't always so push, pump the adrenaline to get us into this feel-good state.
Yeah. You know, the way I explain it a lot of times too, to me, it, I see pictures in my head, when I'm trying to understand something or if I'm trying to explain it. But, being in sympathetic, the push, the go versus the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest. I see it, to me, it helps to see it as what, and it's true, it's like biochemistry, right? But the blood is literally shunted, a lot of it shunted from the core, where it's supporting the organs that are necessary for rest and digest and detoxification and having babies, making hormones, all of this core area, and goes out to the extremities, right? Because we got to go, go, go. And so if our blood just stays there for the most part, we're not supporting this core area where all of these amazing things are happening and are supposed to happen. So even the small things, right? And going back to what you said, yes, it's about drinking enough water, good, healthy, filtered water, like really truly filtered water, not like Brita, right? But going outside and walking in the grass, literally barefoot walking in the grass, laying in the grass, being in the sun. Those are the things, the simple things, eating slowly. I mean, all of these amazing simple things that we can do that are free. Yeah. I mean, the sun's the sun's my favorite thing in the world. But anyway, point to that is it just is anything that we can do to calm, right? And then taking that time for prayer, again, free, and is the biggest thing that we can do, at least as far as I'm concerned. I fully believe that. But prayer and being still and meditation, all these things that we hear, but we hear it, but it's all backed by data. It's science driven. This is not woo. It's not, okay, I just don't have time for that. This is you have to do it, or it's right? Things happen that we don't want to happen.
Yeah. And for each person, what is stress relieving for them is different. Like for you, it's the sunshine. I agree. When I was in Colorado, it's like I couldn't wait to get out in Mother Nature and get sunshine, and it just felt so good. You warm up, you get that vitamin D going through your system. But it is also important to note that like stress relieving practices are personalized and different for each person too. So I see a lot of clients who, my ideal client is kind of that type A perfectionist, high achiever, and that person usually doesn't do great with meditation. That would be a go-to for a lot of people, and I would love to see them do more of that, and myself.
It's it's a practice, right? It's a practice to get in that space, but it's an important one.
Yeah. So it's finding what can you kind of get lost in and get into this chill mode and actually be there. For a lot of people in meditation, they're like, oh my God, when is this going to be over?
More stress.
Like, you're missing the point here. You try something different.
So true. So let's talk about this. When people come to you, what are you seeing? So they're coming to you, they're not getting pregnant. I know that's a specialty. You see other people as well, right? Yeah. But so they're coming to you, whatever their goal is, but I know we're talking about fertility. What are you seeing as these signs that maybe they're not seeing, that they are pushing those adrenals too far, and is this potentially why they're not getting pregnant?
Yes, love this question. And usually when I share kind of the patterns and the signs and symptoms, it's like, oh my God, you're speaking to me. And I get so many people saying this. The big one is the energy patterns throughout the day. It's because cortisol is suppressed first thing in the morning for most people. To your point, like a lot of times cortisol is our stress hormone. So oftentimes it's high, but sometimes it's low at the wrong times of day.
Right, agreed.
So it's waking up exhausted and feeling like, gosh, I need my cup of coffee to get going for the day, which coffee isn't actually giving you energy. It's just decreasing the chemicals that are making you sleepy. So it's increasing wakefulness.
Stimulant, right? Yeah.
So, gosh, I need my coffee to get going. Get the coffee, get moving for the day. The 3 p.m. crash is kind of a notorious sign of like, gosh, I need another cup of coffee. I need something sugary. I need something like quick carbs. And then it's getting to the end part of the day and being like, gosh, I'm so tired. It's only 8 o'clock. I can't go to sleep now. But the body's like, please go to sleep. You're so starved for sleep and rest, and trying to alert you to this. but we fight, and it's like, okay, 9 o'clock, it seems appropriate for the earliest time that I'll go to sleep. So we get the second wind, and then it's like, gosh, I can't shut off my mind. What's going on? I was just so tired. And then somehow we get to sleep, but it's that wake in the middle of the night to use the restroom or with something on the mind that you just can't get out. And it's like that 1 to 3 a.m. I see it with a lot of my clients where the mind starts going, or I have to wake up to go to the restroom, and sometimes they can get back to sleep. Sometimes it's like the mind keeps going all the way up until the morning hour, wake up, no energy, vicious cycle starts again. So that is a big one. I see, having high cortisol levels, oftentimes holding on to weight, especially in the midsection. That's a huge one, is carrying the weight there where you've never carried that before. And I see that a lot with the perimenopause, kind of that shift, which is so interesting, the adrenal piece there, but we can chat about that another time. Weight in the midsection, bags under the eyes, cravings for especially salty, crunchy foods. Sometimes the sweet cravings are there because energy's not, and sugar is our quickest burning fuel. But the salty, crunchy is so interesting. Our jaw is a huge muscle, one of our strongest muscles in the body. And when we have a lot of stress and we don't know how to process it, the body looks to crunch down and use that jaw to munch on things. So chip cravings, or like salted roasted nuts, these types of things can come up. That's a big one. And then the sleep issues are another. So I would say those are kind of the biggest ones. And then food sensitivities, because you're not actually digesting your food, there's probably some leaky gut going on. And then like, I can't process gluten. Gosh, now I'm eating, salads that have strawberries on them, and I feel like even that's not working for me. And it's like, oh, what's going on here?
Yeah, I love that. Going back to the cravings, I think that many of us don't get the cravings that are the body saying, I'm just trying to tell you something, right? There's so many things that we just blame on, well, this is just how I am, or it's my genetics, or it's my age, or I'm just unlucky, right? Which I'm not a believer in luck anyways. I'm like, oh, come on. It's not about luck. This is about your body speaking to you. So taking this step to, whatever that step is it research? Is it reading a book? Is it going and finding somebody who's a professional who can help you decipher the language of the body? Because we have gotten to where, in our world of fast pace and, technology and all these amazing things, I mean, they're true gifts, they can be used for the bad, but we use them for so many good things, and it helps us in our productivity. I mean, I'm always a, glasses half full. So I think that it's all great to a degree, right? But it's taken away, I think, or we've allowed it to take away this, how we listen to our body, right? It's, I'm in a hurry, I just need to take an Advil. I'm in a hurry, I just need to take a Tums or a PPI. I'm in a hurry, and what happens then is we're continuously pushing that spiral, because the body's not saying, hey, I need a Tums. It's saying, I need you to help me build more hydrochloric acid, right? I mean, we could go on and on, but cravings are that. Cravings are the body saying, I need something. And we can list out if you have a sweet craving or a crunchy craving. I love that, because what I notice in a day, like I've been making my own therapeutic yogurt, right? It's like got trillions of bacteria, and it's been really fun for me. And it's A2 milk, or it's nut-based, just to throw it out there, or goat. But I noticed that if I had that for breakfast, or for, my early morning, if I'm not chewed, this is kind of what I'm getting at. If I've not chewed something before noon, I have this need to chew, which I think is so fascinating, because the body's always saying, if I need something, there's a reason for it. So I just listen to it. I don't really know what it means, right? Maybe there's something to it, and maybe you do, but there's something to that. And so if we're having a pain or a headache or a brain fog, or not getting pregnant, or the fatigue in the morning, or even wrinkles, right? I mean, we're all going to age, but even some of these excessive things and the gray hairs and, I'm still sitting here figuring out, I'm 53. So I'm like, okay, how can I?
I would have never guessed. You look great. Your body is like fit as ever I've ever seen anybody. You're doing something right.
Thank you.
Definitely work with her.
Well, so let's work on how to reverse the gray hair and some of these wrinkles. That would be amazing. So I'm working on that on myself. There's always something, right? And my cognitive health, I'm always working on that. But anyway, I'm not great at listening to my body. I'm much better than I used to be. And I do think it's a journey. It's research. It's really trying to go in and paying attention to that. But it's not about brushing it off. We can't brush it off. And we can't brush it off for long because it will start screaming louder and louder and louder for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, that's such a great point. It's like the cravings, the symptoms, it's so easy to pop the over-the-counters or the meds, but our body is so interconnected, and you see it on every medication commercial. The like warning: this might help you with cholesterol, but you could have a heart attack. You could have insomnia. Your feet could explode, like etc. But take it if you want your cholesterol level lower. And it's like, oh my God, but we're so busy that we don't have time to be sick, or we don't have time to have the headache. We don't have time to be like, wait a minute, did I drink any water today? Maybe just a glass of water is what I need in this moment. Yes. So, the signs, symptoms, and cravings are information. And the way that our body says, hey, remember me. And if you're not going to listen when the symptoms are just symptoms, that's when the diagnosis comes up. And cancer, for example, isn't something that happens overnight. It's like usually 10 years in the making, where the red flag or the warning light has been going off, and it's like, oh, Advil, oh, PPI, this, NyQuil, DayQuil, whatever everybody's taking these days. I'm so not sophisticated on medication, but
it's a good thing.
And so medicine has a time and place, and Western medicine is there for a reason. We need that when we have trauma and injury, and if you do C-section, I had to have a C-section, emergency C-section with my first baby. The hospital, I tried to do the doula and the natural birth, and Western medicine was there to support me when my baby wasn't going to come out because she was the wrong way. And so it's there for a reason, but we don't want to abuse it. And when we can try the natural therapies first, like let's do that a little bit more.
Yeah, totally agree. I had a thought, and I can't remember what it was now. Maybe it was because I was just looking at some of my notes and I was listening to what you were saying, but kind of getting back to the stress piece, because one of the things that I have in my notes that I believe came from your website, but it kind of makes sense, is if we're stressed all the time and we're wanting to get pregnant and we're constantly thinking about it and we're pushing sex, right? Then that creates more stress, and it creates less fun, and makes it that it has the potential of making it that much harder, right? So if you're not wanting to have sex, but you're like, I've got to get pregnant, this it just creates more stress. So what can you do to take that piece of it away too? Because it's not how sex is supposed to be, right? Sex is supposed to be good and fun and procreative and all of these beautiful things that God created it for, but it doesn't create the body to want to get pregnant if it's constantly in this stress state about things like, I gotta have sex. Yes, but do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And you see that all the time with people who have been trying. And by the way, it's not just the females. Like the males also need to clean up their SHIT too. So I do want to make sure we get that out there with the infertility piece. We take so much responsibility as women, but you also, like, the partners should get their hormones tested and make sure they're working with a nutritionist, or getting their hormones online too. But you see it all the time. If somebody's been tracking and like on the calendar is we're doing intercourse on these 3 days of the month, that when they've been doing that for multiple months and not seeing the results and so frustrated, it's like, ugh, I'm just gonna take a couple months off. Like, I can't keep up this way. I have other things that I need to be doing, and I'm just like frustrated to tears to keep going this way. They take the couple months off, maybe they go on vacation, whatever, they find the connection naturally, and they get pregnant.
Yes.
So it's, do less, calm yourself more, do things, to your point, that are fun. And this is, if you're constantly going for weight loss and hate your body and your punishment running and calorie subtracting to try to get there, your body is going to give you a couple middle fingers and say, screw you. So like, that's not the way to actually get the weight loss. Start loving me, start treating me with respect. Maybe I don't like running and you're just pounding the pavement trying to get there. Maybe I want to do yoga, or maybe I'm like so sick of doing exercise like this. Go for a walk, for God's sake. And it's the same with fertility. You could apply it to diet, you could apply it to exercise, sleep, where, a lot of people, I only need 5 to 6 hours and I'm functioning fine. There are so many studies out there of accidents that happen, medical accidents, accidents on the road, truck drivers falling asleep with their eyes open, micro sleeps, because they've slept less than 6 hours each night consistently. So it's no different with fertility and this kind of nervous system, back to the adrenals and the nervous system balance of sympathetic dominant stress mode versus the parasympathetic, I can exhale, the blood can go inward, I can digest my food, I can get the nutrients like zinc and like magnesium to balance out the hormones. Like, it comes back to these fine particles. We're all talking about macros, but how about the micros, the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants? Your body won't absorb those if you're constantly eating on the run and can't be bothered with any of it.
Yeah. I do want to go back for a second on male fertility, because I do think it's an important topic, and it's important to this discussion because men can also be stressed, right? They can also have chronically elevated cortisol, but the fact that testosterone for men has dropped by 50% in 60 or 70 years, fertility for men has dropped. That is such a huge number that it blows my mind. And it's really scary. And so what are the things, I'm going to say a couple of things that I think men can do, and I would love for you to, because I'm sure you work with couples as well, right? You've got to have both. But you always see your men who are carrying their iPhones in their pockets.
Yes.
This is not okay. I mean,
or laptop on
their lap,
on the lap.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I see that with my husband all the time. Thank you for mentioning it. He will not listen, but and we've been able to get pregnant, but it is radiation to your private parts. Yes.
Yeah. It's not okay. And then of course you go back to it's the toxins and the environment and the stress. Is there anything that you're seeing when you are working with couples or with men alone, you might do that, that you're seeing that can help them manage their stress when they're in a situation where maybe you don't really know where the problem is lying when it comes to fertility issues, right? It could be one, it can be the other, it can be both, and there's not a place for blame, and there's a point where you want to go get it checked out, certainly. But if they're working together, what would you tell men who are trying to manage this also?
Yeah, so a lot of the simple practices apply to men or women. It's like balance your blood sugar, have the protein first thing in the morning, don't have your coffee and then do the intermittent fasting. Maybe they've been trying that for a while and it's like that's not working for you right now. So support the adrenals with blood sugar balance, reduce chemicals in as many ways as possible. To your point, filter your water. That's a super simple thing that it's an investment, but then you don't have to buy bottled water or think about getting the distilled jugs that you bring home and have to schlep around. Get to bed by 10 o'clock as often as possible so that you're supporting hormone balance while you're sleeping. So there's a lot of those same tips that apply to anybody across the board to help their hormones work better. But it's also personalized. So there's a getting in there and asking questions to figure out what is your level of stress? What is stressing you out? Mm-hmm. How are you managing that? What tools do you have in your toolbox? And everybody's going to be different. Potentially the male feels the pressure of the financial, if the woman's going to get pregnant and maybe stop working, or that's kind of old school at this point. That's definitely not what I did in my relationship with my kids.
Some people do, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So there might be the burden of, am I making enough? I need to be pushing myself at the job, which means, X, Y, Z. So it's investigating and then figuring out. That's the holistic nutrition piece. Is it's not always just about diet and putting males or females or anybody in between on a detox, which is great for cleaning up the hormones and doing something more concentrated, getting the liver supported so it can help with this hormone rebalance piece. But it's about, like, how are we managing our stress? Stress is always going to be there, so we have to identify what is your biggest stress right now, and how can you, like, shift that nervous system. So that's what I would say, kind of to the adrenal support for males. But the traditional boost testosterone is intermittent fasting, lifting heavy things, kind of those traditional push things, which the males oftentimes, when I'm seeing them with lower testosterone, they're already doing all of those things. So it comes back to kind of a little bit of these practices that more of our females need too, of slowing down, doing deep breathing, actually getting to bed instead of watching the news or on your phone, doing the scrolling, whatever, playing video games. I don't know what people do. Yeah. I'm an early bird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that does become a habit, right? It becomes a habit for people to late at night, do the scrolling. They think it's a form of rest, right? But the blue light is certainly not a form of rest, and it's going to impact melatonin and your sleep cycles and all of that stuff. So it is important to take that time to get off the TV, get off the phone, get off the iPad, whatever it is, and have a process of shutting down, right? And allowing the body to be away from so much stimulation. My sweet husband, oh goodness, he came to bed a couple of nights ago, and it was late. It was really late, and so he got wrapped up in the Charlie Kirk stuff. I know it's been a month now. It's still just heartbreaking. But point is, he got wrapped up in a bunch of political stuff, and so I don't know if it was 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning that he was just scrolling and reading, and he's a big researcher when it comes to politics anyway, which I appreciate because he can tell me stuff, right? And like, great, because I'll research the science nerdy stuff, you research the politics, we'll come together and chat. But he couldn't sleep that night, and he was like, why couldn't I sleep? I was like, are you really asking me that question? Your mind is reeling, you're full of blue light, even if he takes the blue light off the screen. Anyway, point to all of that is you got to just stop. And you can't be mad at your body if you don't sleep when you do something like that.
Right? I know. My husband puts the earbuds in and listens to the news to go to sleep. I'm like, all of
way.
He will do certain things, but you can only get so far with people, even if they're your significant other, your family members. Like, if they don't want to make the change, they're not going to. So that's what he needs. I try to stay away from the news as much as possible and let him inform me, similar to your husband. And it's like, that's so stressful. I can't just stop. We have to have boundaries around things that we know will set us over the edge.
Oh, goodness.
I hear you on that. Amen.
We are at time, but if you have a couple of minutes, I have a question for you, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
I want to kind of dig into the food a little bit, and specifically for women. I think at this point, the food can be different for men and women depending on goals, but for women, and I think a lot of women, well, and men too, but will either go vegan or just not eat red meat or do certain things for whatever the reason, whatever the goal, whatever it might be, because they think it's healthy and because they're like, okay, I'm doing this because I want to reach this goal. And it may be restricting calories to an extreme. It may be doing keto to an extreme. Whatever the case may be, what is your thought? And I think I'm particularly thinking about protein because I think we don't get enough protein. But I'm curious about what your thought is. People come to you and ask you about what should I be eating for fertility and adrenal fatigue. What are you going to tell people about their macros specifically, right? Because their macros will turn into their micros. But anyway.
Yeah. Such a great question. I'm glad we have a little bit of space for it. So the most important thing is balancing your blood sugar. We've kind of talked about it, but we haven't hit directly on it. And your best opportunity to do that is first thing in the morning, supporting your body with a good amount of protein at breakfast. And the window is within 60 to 90 minutes of rising, giving your body 20 to 30 grams of protein within that amount of time. So you are balancing your blood sugar for the whole rest of the day. As far as energy, mood, cravings, hunger goes, things kind of balance out better, at least to start off with, and then things work themselves out as you do it for long enough. Stress is always going to be there, so it's not like we can get rid of stress, but where we do have the ability to change that around is our food choices and the timing of our meals. So even if you are trying to do intermittent fasting, instead of, which I have my whole thoughts on that with women versus men, but instead of skipping breakfast, eat an earlier dinner. If the not having anything in your system doesn't keep you up at night, which if you're really fatigued and stressed, sometimes a little snack before bed is important to nourish you and balance your blood sugar again. But that's how to address kind of the intermittent fasting piece. So protein first thing in the morning within the 60 to 90 minutes of rising. Oftentimes eating every 2 to 3 hours something with protein, fat, and fiber if you can, and smaller meals throughout the day because your digestion isn't working great when you're chronically stressed. So give yourself just little bits throughout the day, and eating less at night. Oftentimes we eat less in the morning. Maybe we didn't sleep great, we ate a big dinner, we were out with friends, we wake up and it's like, I don't feel like eating. Or I see a lot of night owls who aren't really breakfast people, they've never been. But eating a lighter dinner and then trying to get to bed a little bit earlier, you might just be able to reset your circadian rhythm to want the breakfast in the morning, or have something with enough protein that's not a huge meal. Like not everybody loves eggs or doing an omelet. Like that can sit heavy for people. So let's find something that can work for you with protein. So that's one thing. The vegan, I definitely want to hit on the going vegan for whatever reason, because you love animals, because you're trying to be healthier, because you're trying to cut calories or lose weight and you just don't want to say it, and it's easier to say I'm going vegan so that the options are limited and people get off your back. Like there's lots of reasons that are in there to kind of your point anyways. A lot of vegan, so first of all, plant proteins are missing some of the essential amino acids that we need to complete our protein structure for the day, which is nothing new to you, but just as a reminder for the listeners, you have to combine them properly. Like beans on their own don't have all of the amino acids that we need, which are the building blocks of protein. You have to combine them with a grain or a nut or a seed to get all of the amino acids you need to get all of your protein. Plant proteins and plants in general are often missing other nutrients like omega-3s and like vitamin D. A lot of foods are missing vitamin D and all of the B vitamins like B12. A lot of these are a lot more bioavailable and absorbable by the body when they come directly from the source, like having wild caught salmon versus having walnuts and
Yes.
expecting their omegas to convert to the EPA and DHA, which I don't want to like get too far down. I know you know what I'm talking about, but
I do, and I do talk about it, but it is important to understand, even if we're not going to hit on it, that it's biochemistry, right? Some things just don't convert properly in our body, so we need the direct source. So yes.
And the last piece on the diet front is when you go vegan, often, and you're protein conscious, and maybe beans don't sit great. It's like, gosh, beans are making me like have the farts all day long, or I'm super bloated, or having other digestive issues. So you might turn towards other plant-based protein sources, and there's a lot of soy in a lot of the vegan products. It's like soy dogs and soy burgers and tofu and tempeh and soy this, that, and the other thing. And when it comes to the hormones, soy is an endocrine disruptor and leads to more estrogen dominance than many of us. Like, we're already estrogen dominant with the exposure of chemicals. We don't need more of that. So we need to be really mindful and do less processed. Whatever diet and food choices you make, the less processed version is always going to be the best. So could you do tempeh instead of tofu dogs and not have soy every single day? Do some beans, prepare them properly so that you don't have the bloating and gas that comes from them. And I could go on a tangent, but does that give you something to kind of crutch on?
I think it's great, and I think we've gotten to this place to where, for a lot of people, protein has become the enemy, right? I don't want to eat cows because they're unhealthy, which is not true. If they're from a CAFO, an operation, right? Conventional cows, yes, not good. But you know, there's lots of gray area here, and to demonize protein is really problematic because it's what builds our neurotransmitters, right? Of course, it builds muscle. It's all of these things. And I have an example, although it's from a man, and he may be watching, but it was such a key factor in his transition, and it took about a week, maybe less, I don't know. But he's like, I'm really happy being vegan. I'm really happy with vegetables. They don't sit with me well, and they hurt me, but I don't want to eat meat. And I was like, okay, let's eat some meat. Just eat some meat.
Just try.
And and he did. Thankfully, he listened to me, and his brain fog cleared up. He can think. He's funnier. That's what he said. He's like, he's funnier. His voice is deeper and bigger. And literally, this was in a very, very short period of time, that all of these things just opened up for him. And he's like, I had no idea. And we have to give our body what it needs. Protein is so, so important, and we need more than I think that a lot of us know that we need, right? It's a gram if you're working out, maybe 1.2 grams per body weight. If I'm 125 pounds, I'm eating 125 grams of protein. It feels like a lot of protein, right? But, and that's been my focus over since January. It's like, I'm going to focus on, I would probably get 60 grams. Like, it's fine, not a big deal. It is a big deal, right? And for women, sorry, I interrupted you. For women, as we're going through these changes, as we're building hormones, as hormones are changing, and making sure that we are protecting our cognitive health, it's so important to make sure that we're getting the protein that we need.
And protein number, like, you know, depending on what your activity level is, what your goals are, that can vary. But we also have to do the fats. Like, so many people, I guess in this day and age with keto and like all these other diets, fat has become not the villain as much anymore. But cholesterol is the backbone to all of our hormones, and so we actually need to stop taking so much statins and figure out, why is my cholesterol high and what's causing the inflammation that's causing the cholesterol. So we also, especially as it pertains to the hormones, need to focus on getting good quality healthy fats and less of the omega-6 processed fats that are showing up in our processed packaged foods and these vegan cheeses and products. And so yes, protein's important. Quality of protein is really important. So if somebody is doing the 1 gram protein per pound of body weight, oftentimes that becomes really expensive if you're sourcing high quality, like wild caught fish, and you're doing grass fed, grass finished beef. So it's like, how can we still get you up there in protein, but like work with your budget and have you not start slipping on quality where you can't afford to keep up with these $200+ a week grocery store bills, because this can get so expensive. So that's one piece to the like protein thing. If we're eating a lot of animal proteins, that can just be out of people's price point if they're doing really high quality.
It can be, yeah. There's always the we do the best we can, right? We stress about the big things, we don't stress about the small things, and we do the best that we can. But it's the knowledge is power, right? We have to understand what it is that is important and what it is that we need, and then we do the best that we can, right?
Exactly.
It's just kind of
absolutely. Yeah. Agreed.
And we could go on the cholesterol thing. You know, we gotta. We probably should stop here, but I just need people to hear that cholesterol is protective, right?
Yeah.
And we've got to understand the details in cholesterol, because there's so many important details in cholesterol. But don't be afraid of cholesterol. Be afraid of inflammation, right? Chronic inflammation, that's where the problem is. It's not cholesterol. So I'm sure you've talked about it. I have multiple podcast episodes where I've talked about cholesterol, so go and look for them, because this is so important to our longevity and our quality of life, especially if we're put on a statin, because that will decrease quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Where can people find you? Oh, and you have a giveaway. You have a fun thing to give away.
Yes. So I have a hormone rebalance jumpstart. It's a 28-day guide to do 3 simple small steps to start changing your hormones, help with fertility. Maybe you are somebody who is going through perimenopause. Maybe you're somebody who your cycles aren't regular. Maybe you just have low energy or weight struggles and you're like, I'm just so sick of dealing with this. Just do these 3 simple things every day for 28 days and you'll see things come back online. Your sleep will improve, your energy will improve, you'll start seeing shifts with weight. And it takes a while to rebalance the hormones naturally. It's not like you take birth control pills the next month or that month your cycle is regular. Like, so give it a moment to start doing these things. But once they start shifting, it's long term that the benefits happen. So this guide is on my website. I'm happy to also share a QR code, but I know you'll drop it in the notes as well. It's at tailoredhealthforyou.com. That's tailoredhealth4you.com. And it's a pop-up, and it's also at the footer on my homepage. So you can sign up for my newsletter and get that free guide right away.
Perfect. That's awesome. So that will be on all of our, the YouTube and the Facebook and the all of the places, the KUHS and the podcast. That was the word I was looking for. I was like, on all the podcast sites. So
we've done so much thinking today, and now it's gone. Like, for the rest of the day, we just might be mush.
Time for a nap. No, just kidding. I'm not a good napper, but
all of us.
Yeah. But anyway, so find it there. So we'll have the link, we'll have the QR code, we'll have all of the things that you need. So I know we've got some men who are watching, so you can grab this for your women in your life that would be supportive for them. But reach out to Taylor if you have questions. She's a great resource. Love super smart people, so she's got it going on in that world. So I appreciate you so much being here. Congratulations to your expanding family.
Thanks.
It's so fun. Yeah. Anything that we need to hit on that you wanted to say?
I think that was great. I think this was packed.
Good.
And
it was.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, of course, you can find me, tastelifenutrition.com, the website, the socials, all of the places. We have, so bad about this. We have a sponsor. She's fairly new, so I'm just not in the habit still. But Susan Drake, and I need to get her today. Sometimes I'm just late and not prepared. But She's with Mountain Medical Concepts, and she has amazing products, peptides, exosomes. She's got multiple things that are specific to practitioners to help their patients and their clients. And I'm a big fan of peptides. I'm a big fan of exosomes. I hate the term longevity. It really is about quality over longevity, but it is for working with people with GI dysfunction and autoimmune conditions and inflammation and anti-aging and so forth. So all really cool things. You can find her information on the website. You can find it also in all of the places, the podcast stuff, and then you can find me. I've got an assessment you can fill out. Happy to chat with you about whatever it is that you need to chat about. Or I have amazing referrals, people like Taylor, who I can refer people to as well if there's somebody better for you. So my goal is to be a resource. My goal is to build a happy, healthy world, one person at a time, whatever I can do, right? So anyway, thanks for being here. Find us here every Thursday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, streaming live on KUHSdenver.com. And check out Taylor's website, Tailored Health for You. Awesome. Thank you. All right. Very good. Thanks, everybody. Give me just 1 second, Taylor.